The 80s spawned a lot of things. Reaganomics, Terminator, Steve Perry. But it also gave rise to the Satanic Panic. And one of the most prominent kinds of Satanists that the decade produced was an evil race of tiny geckos with leaves for tails. These dastardly reptiles can hide in plain sight. And although they don't worship the beast, they do eat Beelzebugs on the regular. But that's just how the satanic leaf gecko operates here in life, death, and taxonomy.
Welcome back to Life, Death, and Taxonomy. It's your 30 minutes of interesting animal information. I'm Joe.
And I'm Carlos.
Thank you to Cassie for the creation of our theme song. To hear more of Cassie's music, please search Cassie Michelle on YouTube.
And thank you to Brian for the creation of this week's artwork. To check that out, you can visit us at LD Taxonomy on Facebook or Twitter, or visit us at our home on the web at ldtaxonomy.com.
And today we're talking about a gecko that just does what it wilsts.
Does what feels right? It takes the Burger King motto.
No, it does what it wilsts. But more on that later. Do you know what that is?
Do what thou willst.
We'll find out what that... More on that now.
But what are we talking about?
The Satanic leaf-tailed gecko.
Yes.
And do what thou willst is the slogan for modern Satanism. And modern Satanism is like spicy atheism.
It's individualistic secular humanism.
Essentially, yeah.
It's the Burger King motto, right? Isn't it? No, that's have it your way.
Have it your way is essentially do what thou willst.
I guess.
Burger King is Satanist.
Or Nike, just do it. But yeah, Satanic leaf-tailed gecko. That's a mouthful. So it's also called the eyelash leaf-tailed gecko or the fantastic leaf-tailed gecko. But we're gonna call it here cultic camouflage and Aleister Crowleaf.
Never thought we'd have a dive into the history of Satanism.
The recent history of Satanism.
I learned all that stuff in a cults class.
I didn't know you took a cults class.
In high school, we had a cults class.
Well, I took a world religions class. Didn't get to cults though. So you had you talked about the Waco, Texas people and
Branch Davidians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
the Heaven's Gate cult.
The Don't Drink the Kool-Aid.
Jim Jones. Jonestown. Yep.
It's crazy, crazy stuff.
Indeed it is. And you know what else is crazy?
Taxonomy. It is.
Would you like to know what science has to call it?
Yes.
The kingdom is the one you're in, and you know it, and you love it. The kingdom Animalia. Unless you really, really wish you were a plant or a fungus or something.
Or a bacteria?
Mm-hmm.
That's that's in a different kingdom.
It's in a different kingdom for sure. It's also in a different
domain.
Domain, yeah. The phylum is Chordata. The class is Reptilia. Mm-hmm. The Hun. The order is Squamata. What's Squamata with you? We're just repeating jokes at this point.
Basically.
And the family is Gecconidae.
Sure.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Guess what that is? It's geckos. And then the genus is, would you say Uroplatus or Uroplatus?
Actually, because it's Latin, I would say Uroplatus. Like Ouroboros.
Ouroboros.
You don't say Ouroboros. Ouroboros. I'm a Burros.
Europe burrows. That's donkeys from Europe. And then the species is Fantasticus.
It's just so good. It's so good. Very good. Very good gecko. But since we're in the business of, so it's Uroplatus fantasticus. But since we're in the business of naming things, it's time for my favorite part of the show. Cue the music. Well, actually, no, it's not that. It's nitty-gritty nomenclature.
Okay, good. I was just about to look up why when you said no. Wait, I was just like, why is it called Fantasticus? But
Don't do
as
it.
soon as you said that, I exited out of the tab for Google.
I'm glad you don't know, because this will be interesting. All right. Nitty-gritty nomenclature means what is it the binomial nomenclature mean? Europlatus fantasticus. Clearly Latin. So, Joe, does Europlatus fantasticus mean A, devil's leaf, B, imaginary flat tail, C, disguised specter, D, rounded leaf ghost, or E, very, very good gecko boy?
Tell me B and C again.
Imaginary flat tail and disguised specter.
Imaginary flat tail. Final answer.
Is that your final answer? Ding, ding, ding. That's correct. Did I make it too obvious?
Fantasticus and imaginary seem close together. And then platypus also has a flat tail. So that's my logic.
That's pretty good. I was hoping to get you with rounded leaf ghost because Fantasticus is not spelled with an F like fantastic. It's spelled with a PH like phantasm.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought I would get you with specter and ghost.
Gotcha.
But
well,
your powers of deduction actually worked in your, or not deduction, but your knowledge of rudimentary Latin is served you well.
Like a fantastic tail is sometimes like that sound like a tall tail, like an imaginary tail, you know.
Yeah, it's interesting when you read older books and they use the word fantastic to mean not true, like fantasy related, rather than really, really good. But for us, for in modern speech, it's hyperbole. It's like it's too good to be true kind of thing. It's so good.
Very true. Oh, that is it, isn't it? That's so good. It's fantastic. It can't be.
Yeah. It's top shelf language. We have no place to go.
Okay. Would you like to know what it looks like?
Yeah, that's pretty important to this Satanist.
So the satanic leaf gecko has a flat tail, large head, and spiky eyebrows. In fact, it's like little eyebrow spikes that makes it look like it has angry little eyebrows sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
They also have a spinal ridge that runs from the back of their necks. It's pretty interesting. So its eyebrow ridge to the two like raised lines meet at the back of their neck and then go down to the base of their tail and then split again to form the edges of the leaf. So it's in terms of design, it's very well done. The Lord has outdone himself, ironically, with something that we've called Satan.
The satanic leaf. Hey, he created the Satan.
Very true.
Probably had lots of cool lines on him as well.
He was very Aqualine.
Yeah, and probably had little ridges over his eyes just to really, really seal that horned look.
He probably looked like the 1940s cartoon version. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they also have they come in earth tones, particularly reddish brown and pale yellow, and it looks very striking when it comes in those two hues. And some of them are two-toned, and they have this like pattern disruption modeling, while others are monochromatic with a single light brown color with some changes, but mostly monochrome, like a modern Pinterest bedroom.
Sure.
Their large heads are beset with big red-orange eyes. Sometimes, but sometimes they're clouded.
Yeah, it is really
like in the monochromatic ones. They're like clouded over. They almost look dead. Their eyes are like pale.
Either way, it's Satanism. Either red eyes or clouded over. It's just evil.
I just briefly skimmed over why it was called this. Do you have anything on that?
No.
So basically, it had big red eyes, and it looks creepy. So it was called Satan.
I figured that, but I'm just surprised it's not called like the devil's leaf-tailed gecko or the leaf-tailed devil or something like that. Like it's just satanic. It's just such a descriptive thing. It's not like an imp. It's like a devil worshiper.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. Did they name this in the 80s?
When they first discovered it, it was playing D&D.
It was playing D&D to the Beatles vinyl going backwards.
It was named by biologist George Bullinger in the 80s, but the 1880s.
Oh. Hey, the 80s are the 80s no matter what, really. It's just cycles of humanity.
Chose the name because of the bizarre appearance of the gecko. Wow. You just come across this and like, wow, that looks crazy. It must worship the devil.
Because it was named in the 19th century, I'm even more surprised he didn't call it like a devil.
Yeah.
But hey.
He's Belgian. Maybe he named it in
Flemish.
Maybe that's it. Maybe it's translated to satanic. But that, of course, brings us to how big is it? Welcome to the Blood Measure Up segment, the official listener's favorite part of the show. The part of the show when we present the animal size and dimensions in relatable terms through a quiz that's fun for the whole family. It's also part of the show that's introduced by you when you send an audio yourself saying, singing, or chittering. The words measure up into ldtaxonomy@gmail.com. We unfortunately do not have a new one this week, a new measure up intro.
Bummer. But thank you to everyone who has been sending them in. It's been really cool hearing the voices of people who like the show.
And it sure would be neat if we got some more. But that means we get to hear from an animal and Carlos has to guess what it is. That means I get to shoehorn another quiz show that is imposed on Carlos
and we get to hear,
the quiz show.
And we get to hear from an animal that does not care about this show at all.
Well, we don't know that.
We do.
So hold on. Let me pull this up. With some ado.
With a little bit of ado.
Without further ado.
With a Mountain Dew.
With a Mountain Dew. Oh, the listener's favorite part of the show. You heard that?
I did.
All of those were the same animal.
Okay, that's good to know.
So is it A, rhinoceros, B, a gargoyle gecko, C, a cheetah, or D, a rock dove?
I'm going to rule out the rhinoceros thing. Cheetah got me thinking, because they do chirp, but I don't think it's that high. I think I think I remember it being a more unique sound. So I don't think it's cheetah. So rock dove and gargoyle gecko. That I don't think a gecko, or any lizard makes that kind of sound. So I'm gonna go with the rock dove. Final answer. It's either a rock dove or a cheetah, but I'm going with rock dove.
The correct answer was cheetah.
Nah.
Here's the immediate next sound that I was very careful to stop it before. A very quintessential meow.
I have heard them chirp, but it wasn't that high, or it wasn't like, oh, that sounds exactly like a bird. It's like, oh, that's an interesting chirping sound from this 100-pound cat.
But geckos do make a sound that is described as chirping.
It's probably not that high though. Or
no,
probably not that loud or strong.
It is really loud at night. Our bed is right by our front window, and there's like a little bush area there, and we hear geckos sometimes at night.
Oh, really? You sure they're not frogs?
They could be frogs, but the sound sounds more like what I've heard geckos sound like. That's not the sound I thought it was going to be.
Is that a gecko?
That's a camera shutter, it sounds like, but it was a gecko scream.
Oh my goodness, that sounds like the mandrakes from Harry Potter.
Remember the Tokay gecko?
No.
We talked about this before, and I think I played this audio. You would think that's like some sort of bird, and then you go outside and there's a lizard.
It sounds like you're squeezing a clown's nose.
Okay, let's talk about length. They are 90 millimeters or 3.5 inches. How many satanic leaf geckos go into one astronomical unit?
Oh boy.
Do you know what an astronomical unit is?
That is the distance between the Earth and the Sun, which I think is like 95 million miles.
So here's a hint. An astronomical unit is often used to measure distance within the solar system. It's equal to the distance between the center of the Earth and the center of the Sun.
Okay, I'm not changing my numbers here. I'm still going with 95 million miles. So that's 6 trillion inches. We're going to go with 1.7 trillion.
1.7 trillion? Final answer?
Yes.
The correct answer was 1.6 trillion.
That's fine. I happen to know that what an astronomical unit was pretty close offhand.
An AU is 149.6 million kilometers. So what is that in miles?
Probably 95. Because I speak in freedom units.
92 million. Yeah, 92 million.
Yeah.
Freedom units. All right, let's talk about weight. That's a W. We'll call that a W.
That's a big W. But that one that wasn't like a good guess. It was just I basically knew the answer, and then I did math with my calculator.
I thought there was a chance that you might know what that is. I thought there was a chance that either you didn't know what an AU was, but you would know when I gave you the hint based on the distance of the Earth, or you just straight up knew what an AU was.
I'm not a total space science nerd, but I do enjoy it, and so yeah, I do know what an AU is.
Maybe next time I'll ask you how far the Oort cloud is from the sun.
Yeah, that would have been better.
Or the snow line.
Yeah. Or the Kuiper belt.
Okay, let's talk about weight. They're 10 to 30 grams. How many satanic leaf geckos go into the largest mammal on Madagascar? And do you know what it is?
Is it the Fusa?
It is. It's the Fossa.
Yeah.
It's the Fusrada.
The amount of times that Bibby and I have watched Madagascar is finally paying off. It's finally becoming real world practical knowledge.
Man, the things you watch a lot just blow my mind. Like the Lord of the Rings, something that's won a ton of Academy Awards, and Madagascar.
It's like one of those. We pick a movie. Well, Bibby picks a movie that, and then we just watch it until we know it so well that we can fall asleep with it on.
That sounds like you set out to ruin movies.
Well, we're the kind of people that enjoy watching things over and over and over again. So far, none of the movies that we've watched like that have lost their flavor. That's, yeah, Madagascar, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, Spirited Away, Lord
Fantastic
of the Rings.
Beasts?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Spirited Away I can see. It's nice to look at.
Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
The story in Spirited Away, and almost all Miyazaki movies are thin, like a ghost.
They're light and whimsical and colorful, and the music's nice.
Except for his last movie, which we just watched, The Wind Rises.
Oh.
It's thick with story.
There's a lot I want to watch, but the ones that we have watched have been light and whimsical, like Porco Rosso and My Neighbor Totoro and
yeah, if you think The Wind Rises is going to be like that, you're going to be disappointed. It's like a biopic. And he added, it's a biopic about the guy who designed the Zero fighter plane that Japan used in World War II.
Huh. That doesn't seem Miyazaki-ish at all.
He adds a plot line. It isn't Miyazaki-ish, but he adds a plot line.
Is this the Titan AE of his Don Bluth story?
No,
cartoonist story.
It's considered it's considered really. I'm pretty sure it's really good. It's just not very Miyazaki-esque.
Got it.
And it's like the animation is incredible, but it's just not as fanciful. He's got a lot of like things that he likes, like fancifulness, whimsy, and then also public transportation. So this one's about the public transportation.
Well, if you've seen My Neighbor Totoro, he likes when cats are the public transportation.
That's a little both, like the whimsy and public transportation.
Cat bus is one of the main things in his universe.
So here's a hint: the island's largest mammal is the fossa,
the fossa,
a carnivorous cat-like creature. It's in the family Eupleridae. I feel like we've been here before, but have we ever done a civet or mongoose-like animal from Madagascar?
I think maybe the binturong was in Eupleridae.
Eupleridae almost exclusive. I'm pretty sure exclusively live on Madagascar, and I'm pretty sure the binturong doesn't. Doesn't he live in the Borneo or something?
Oh yeah, really? Yeah, you're right. It is Madagascar carnivores. I don't think we have done it, unless like some sort of weasel. It's like a weasel. It's a big weasel.
Well, yeah, it's like but I think it's bigger than a fossa. And
it's a mongoose. There's a mongoose and a civets.
I mean, it's typical for Madagascar to have things like the islands, the untouched islands, have animals that defy taxonomy.
Yeah.
So you have an entire family of things that are equal parts mongoose and equal parts cat.
Equal parts weasel. Equal parts King Julian. All right.
30 grams.
What?
30 grams is how much the satanic leaf gecko weighs.
Oh, okay, yes. How many of those go into a fusa?
How many of those go into a freedom unit?
Into one freedom unit.
It's an ounce. It's an ounce.
30 grams is an ounce?
Yes.
Or like it's probably pretty close.
It's 1.05.
Okay, that works for me. That's a good thing to have in my head forever now. It's 30 grams is an ounce. All right, yeah, so it's basically an ounce. I imagine the fusa, which I'm pronouncing it that way because that's the way they pronounce it in the movie.
Even though it's Fossa.
Yeah, it's probably fossa, but the fusa. I'm going to imagine that cat weasel is 25 pounds. So I'm going to say 400 because there are 16 ounces in a pound. If it's 25 pounds, that's 400 ounces.
Final answer?
Yep.
The correct answer is 287 geckos.
These are light cat ferrets.
They're little. I mean, everything on this island is little.
I'm just like imagining it. I was imagining it to be about the size of my
21 pounds
Jack Russell Terrier Chihuahua dog, and he's like 17 pounds. So I was like, oh, maybe it's a little bit more.
It is a little bit more. 21.
I said 25. What did I get wrong? What?
Wait, what did I...
Did I do something wrong?
Let me just make sure I used 21 pounds.
How was I almost double? But I guess
I did
25 pounds.
19 pounds.
19 ounces in a pound?
No, adult males. 14 to 19 pounds.
That's still 304.
What did I do? No. 19 pounds divided by 30 grams is 287.
I guess there's a slight difference between... It's not exactly an ounce.
No, it isn't. It's 1.05.
5.
Okay.
Standard deviation.
Let's talk fast facts.
Okay.
They live in Madagascar and prefer highland rainforest biomes. Do you know how I know that? Because they only live in the eastern highland rainforest biome of Madagascar. The only place in the world, except for terrariums. They're okay with lower temperatures than your average lizard and do well in their high elevation habitat. Like other geckos and devils, the satanic leaf gecko is nocturnal and hunts for insects at night. They mate seasonally and lay eggs in piles of dead leaves, which is appropriate. Despite their name, they're relatively mild-mannered. They sleep through the day. In captivity, they're kept in 2 male, 1 female groups, also known as the YA novel configuration.
This is... Yeah, you really can't have teenagers take down an oppressive government unless there are 2 guys and 1 girl.
Yeah, unless they're also worrying about a love triangle.
Well, you've got like Aang, Katara, and Sokka. You've got Ash, Misty, and Brock. You've got Neo, Morpheus, and Trinity. You've got Harry, Ron, and Hermione.
But Neo, Morpheus, and Trinity also had a ton of other people along the way.
I know, but like they're the main ones. They're the ones that go on all the adventures.
And then you have Katniss, Gale, and Peeta.
Yeah, they barely go on any adventures. And I can't think of any others. I'm sure Maze Runner has 2 guys and a girl. I'm sure Percy Jackson is 2 guys and a girl.
Yep.
I'm actually pretty certain that's the case. You have Han, Leia, and Luke.
True. Is there anything where it's 2 girls and a guy?
iCarly.
Oh yeah.
That subverted the trend. You did it.
Mean Girls.
Even Vampire Diaries is 2 guys and a girl. Let's see. I guess Mean Girls is just all. There's 2 girls and a guy.
Imagine if it was just 3 dudes. What a trash movie.
Yeah, it would be The Hangover.
You need at least 4 to 5 dudes for it to be funny again. For it to be good again.
No, it's The Hangover.
Hangover's 4.
It's 3 dudes and one of them goes missing.
Yeah, true. 3 best friends that anyone could have. I guess that is.
I don't recommend most of these movies.
It has to be a comedy if
the
it's
people.
3 guys. You can't have a young adult.
Pineapple Express, I think, is 3 guys. Anyway, you're right. The YA trope is definitely 2 guys and a girl, but the love triangle isn't always there.
True.
You have the main character, you have the doofy sidekick, and then you have the love interest.
So even though their tails are super short, and it's an absolute bummer to lose them, they can shed their tails to escape predators. Like other lizards. Like other geckos, they have sticky scales and curved claws on their fingers that help them climb trees with excellent ease.
Nice.
For once, we have a legitimate reason to be upset with the pet trade, besides dominating animal SEO. The exotic pet trade is a big fan of these guys, and they're sometimes captured illegally, which is contributing to their population downturn. They're still classified as least concern, but they're on the decreasing trend. Okay, that's all I got. You got anything good?
Yeah, none of this has been
a good fact.
You have none of this has been good so far. So here's
this all unholy satanic abomination.
Now for the good part.
And you can talk, and I'll mute the driving rain sounds that are happening.
Okay. I'm calling this major fact the devil's disguises. So as we mentioned earlier, a Lester looks a lot like a leaf. Very much so. Its tail even has chunks missing to make it look like parts have rotted away or been eaten by bugs. Males have the notches more often than females, though. But just like the spiny leaf insect, which we covered last season, the Satanic leaf-tailed gecko has both passive and active camouflage, meaning it can turn invisible instantly. No, I'm just kidding. But like it has the passive camouflage, meaning it's just the way that it's designed makes it camouflage. But also it does its behavior. It contributes to its camouflage. So the reality is it looks like a leaf, but it also goes the extra mile to play the part of a leaf. And so it can choose between two major roles to play, and that has a lot to do with its coloration. So it can be a leaf on the wind or the bark with no bite. And as a leaf, it can attach its feet to a branch and hang off it like a dead or dying leaf. It'll even go so far as to sway when the breeze comes around. Diurnal predators, meaning predators that hunt during the day, usually rely heavily on their sight more than other senses. This is like birds mostly. So being still when everything else is moving draws almost as much attention as moving when everything else is still. So it's important to go with the flow. Do what everybody else is doing. Specifically, if you're trying to look like a leaf. So that's its leaf strategy, is just kind of hanging on there. And I think we mentioned this when we covered the mourning gecko. We talked about the padded feet that geckos have, and the thousands and thousands of tiny hooks that they have in the pads of their feet that allow them to cling to basically anything, including glass, which is remarkable. So it can just, with one foot attached to this branch, dangle and be as leafy as possible. Hopefully it doesn't get eaten by something that likes to eat leaves. But it can also pretend to be bark. And this is more common with the ones that are not monochromatic. They have that mottled, speckled coloration. And so what it does is it will flatten out its body and give the branch a big bear hug. And it'll even be able to round its body around the branch depending on how thick the branch or trunk is. So it can just bend to the sensual curves of the branch. The gecko's coloration allows it to blend into the bark, like I said, but that does not always work for sharp-eyed predators. As much as that coloration may help, if it's not exactly the same flavor of color as the bark, it's just looking at it, it's going to be pretty obvious that something is there. But by flattening out its body, it also extends these small frills and flaps along the edges of its stomach, its legs, and its tail. And that obscures its outline. And you mentioned this earlier in pattern disruption. So pattern disruption happens with the coloration, and the best example of that is zebras. So when you're looking at a herd of zebras, and particularly if you are a lion looking at a herd of zebras, it's very difficult to tell where one zebra ends and the other begins. The outline is difficult to make out because of the black and white. And in this case, the frills and the flaps that are sticking out make it so that there isn't one well-defined outline. And because it's mashing its body against the branch, there's also it's not casting very much of a shadow, if one at all. That would also give it away. So it has these two options available to it. It's obviously a lot harder, and they don't really see this behavior in the monochromatic ones. They will more likely default to the leaf position, but it is an option for many members of the species. And like you said, they can also shed their tails. So they have a lot of defense mechanisms that allow them to survive being attacked. And that's I know it's a short one, but that's the major fact for this one.
They found that like birds are really not. They don't really get preyed on by birds. So they're wondering like, what is it hiding from? Why did it develop this so well?
It's probably
It's hiding from fossas.
Well, I don't know. I'm talking out of thin air here, but it doesn't get preyed on by birds because birds primarily use their eyes to hunt, and this is a gecko that has effectively solved the bird problem.
Maybe, yeah. Also, just like if you like when you look closely at it, like the brown ones will have like little flecks of green, like a leaf. The attention to detail seems so intentional.
Yeah, look at this is like many of the animals that we cover. It's just really tough to get the point across with an audio only medium. But when you get home, look up a picture of this one and just don't stop typing after you've put the word satanic in. Just put in the whole leaf-tailed gecko in, and you won't get anything weird. And you'll see it's really striking looking gecko, but when it's camouflaged, it's very difficult to distinguish it from the bark when it's doing the bark transformation.
It's also a satanic leaf-tailed gecko with the dash between leaf and tailed. So if the dash is between satanic and leaf, the tail would be a satanic leaf.
Yes. It's very important. People don't think that dashes are important, but they are super important. Because you don't want to be talking about satanic leaves when you could be talking about leaf tails. Actually, if there was no dash, there would be a lot of
ambiguity
or syntactic ambiguity here. So is it a satanic leaf? Is it leaf-tailed? Is it a tailed gecko? that is that the point?
Yeah, is it a tailed gecko that's very similar to a satanic leaf?
Yeah. Or is it a tailed gecko that hangs out on satanic leaves? So it's like it's describing where it lives.
Yeah, like a banana spider.
Yes. Oh, it's satanic. It's just so funny. You got anything else?
That's all I got.
All right. In case you missed it, that was the satanic leaf-tailed gecko. So for you out there in Podcastia, keep a low profile, become a master of disguise, and play your Led Zeppelin vinyl backward, like the satanic leaf-tailed gecko here in Life, Death, and Taxonomy.
Hey Taxonomy Titans, thanks for listening to the episode. Just a few quick things. As always, reviews and social media engagement are greatly appreciated, but recommending the podcast to friends is the best way to help us grow. If you'd like some LDT flavored merch, check out teespring.com/stores/taxonomy-tees. That's it. Thanks for listening all the way to the end.
Life, Death, and Taxonomy is my favorite in the world podcast.
You ever think about like the rules for listing adjectives?
Yes, I do.
There's a list of rules, like how you
That are commonly broken.
Well, the people found that the people that can do it correctly found that they don't know why. They just know instinctively.
Yeah, like it's not the brown big bear. It's a big brown bear.
Yes. But one sounds wrong. And most people know that, and they don't know why. It's opinion, size, age, shape, color, origin, material, purpose.